Slytherin, ambitious and shrewd. Also, sexy. Hello! Hello! I shall now proceed to speak out my vagina. Hi, welcome to Kick-Ass Switch, putting the K in magic. I'm Joanna DeVoe, and you are watching a video about good, clean, dirty fun, deep belly laughs, and the sacred power of the obscene goddess. Because of this woman, Clarissa Pinkola Estes, in the middle of this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, is this kick-ass, awesome chapter called Heat, Retrieving a Sacred Sexuality. And it is not about sex. It's about dirty jokes and raunchy humor and how there's something sacred about that because it makes us laugh in this deep, deep, deep belly laugh kind of way that it's not just an expression for emotion, it goes deeper than that. It's a release of like all of your pent up rage and sadness, and it's super healing and powerful. And this obscene goddess is a goddess that I can get behind because I actually have a very long history of raunchy humor. I will share in the blog post down below a picture of this book called Erotoscope that I paid way too much money for. I bid for it on eBay and had it delivered to my desk at Warner Brothers, but I had no idea what I was getting in for. It looked like my kind of art. It was very lowbrow, black and white, but the book was like this thick, and it's a collector's item. I knew it was going to be sexy, but I can't share the imagery with you because it's just so rated X, but also raunchy in a really funny way, and it was very inappropriate to have that sent to my desk at Warner Brothers. I didn't know how inappropriate it was going to be, but my coworkers and I, we would like sneak peeks at this book and have ourselves some deep belly laughs when we were supposed to be working. But that was a pretty loose, casual environment. I don't know if you could get away with that at another kind of job without getting accused of sexual harassment. And I have always kind of made fun of my own like blonde hair, big boob thing as a way to break the ice with people, I think, and to kind of like take the piss out of myself. I think I developed this in high school. It became kind of a self-depreciating thing. And it's interesting to me how sadness and anger are so tied up in humor. And some of our most famous comedians, they have these really tragic backgrounds, and they learn how to turn the pain of their childhoods or just their lives. They somehow figure out how to turn it into sacred, deep belly laughs and healing humor. And I think that's just really an interesting, fascinating component to being a human. I mean, what are we doing? What are we talking about here every single week? It's just so much navel gazing and analyzing and exploring all these like nooks and crannies of like the universe within, and it's just infinite. We are fascinating creatures. So I find this kind of portal through the taboo to the healing, sacred healing of deep belly laughter, the obscene goddess. I think this is magical. And there's a piece that she shares in here called Coyote Dick. You got to get the book so you can read the Coyote Dick story because it is so funny. And there's another story she tells about a visit to Rwanda that also is just so charming and funny. But I'm going to tell you a story from my life. You're going to have to read the book if you want to read those stories. And I'm going to refrain. I already said vagina once here, and now I just said it twice. I'm going to say it a third time because I'm going to refrain from saying vagina as I tell this story, and instead I'm going to say flower pot. Flower pot. And I'm going to tell like a really condensed version of this story, okay? And it goes like this. This is just for fun, by the way. Deep heaving belly laughs. All right, so once upon a time, this couple was getting really hot and heavy, and they were making out, and she was feeling horny and sexual, and she was like, I want you to stick a finger in my flower pot. And he's like, okay. So he stuck a finger in her flower pot, and she's like, wiggle it around. So he wiggled it around, and she's like, that's not enough. I need you to stick 2 fingers in my flower pot. So he stuck 2 fingers in her flower pot. And she's like, snap your fingers. Can you snap your fingers? And he was snapping his fingers in her flower pot. And she was just getting so turned on and hot and heavy and so excited by the whole experience. And she's like, okay, can you just stick your whole hand up there? And so he stuck his whole hand up her flower pot. And he's like, where are we going with this? And she's like, and you know what? I would love it if you could just stick your other hand up there too. And the guy was like, okay. So he like squeezed his other hand up there, and he had 2 hands up her flower pot. And she goes, now clap. And he goes, I can't. And she said, tight, huh? It's so stupid. But the first time I heard that joke, it was my ex-mother-in-law. And she was already my ex-mother-in-law at the time. She's my son's nana. And this was like a whole other side to this woman that I had never seen before. It made me appreciate her on a deeper level. I have told that joke so many more times. It's more elaborate and more fun if you draw it out and if you get to use the dirty words, but for the sake of trying to keep this PG. But we shared that deep belly laugh, and what made me giggle was like this spark in her eye, and you saw like, it was almost like the obscene goddess took over and was coming through my ex-mother-in-law, and it was a magical moment, and it was around like this dirty joke. Good, clean, dirty, fun. Another thing that I think is really interesting, I notice I say that word a lot. I think a lot of things are interesting, but this chapter leads right in to a chapter on rage, righteous rage. And I don't think that was just like some slapped together accident. I think she did that very, very intentionally, because I think the two, like I just said, I think that these deep belly laughters, they can come out of taboos, sexuality, or just making fun of ourselves, our own sadness and our own anger, because we're all human. We have sadness, we have anger, and we're able to touch each other in that way that it transforms us. It's magical. So you take something that you're angry about, you turn it into a joke, it unkinks your flow, and all of a sudden it sets you free. It's so interesting. There's a quote in here, let's see, about the laughter. It's not a quote, it's a passage. But I'm kind of circling back on this. I know I kind of moved into anger and rage, but I wanted to read this to you. She says, the sacred and the sensual/sexual live very near one each other in the psyche, for they all are brought to attention through a sense of wonder, not from intellectualizing, but through experiencing something through the physical pathways of the body. Something that for the moment or forever, whether it is a kiss, a vision, a belly laugh, or whatever, changes us, shakes us out, takes us to a pinnacle, smooths out our lines, gives us a dance step, a whistle, a true burst of life. And I think that that just ties in so perfectly about what I've been going on about getting out of your head and getting it into your body. And our emotions, our anger, our sadness, it gets trapped in our body. And I believe that's why this kind of deep, deep belly laugh, the kind that's like makes you pee your pants. It's sacred pee. It's a release. And that is why I think she goes right into talking about rage and anger. And this also reminds me so much of what I'm talking about. It's so different, but for the autumn transition module of the Psycho-Spiritual Wheel of the Year, I talk about unkinking your flow, and I use a garden hose as an example. And you know, your hose, like if you use it a bunch, it gets all kinked up, and then you try to run it, and the water doesn't come out, and you have to unkink your hose to get your flow going. I do not talk about sacred anger in this module, but I wish I had now. So this will just be like a little supplement to the autumn transition module. Because to me, this deep belly laughter is like the best way to unkink your flow. But I get into other ways to do that. And then also this chapter that comes next after the belly laughter chapter, when she starts talking about righteous rage, she talks about boundary setting. And I'm not going to get into that here because I've talked a lot about that too in recent months. And again, there's a section on that in the autumn transition module, which is it's called autumn transition because it's about honoring, the second half of summer, enjoying it, but also preparing for fall. So it's about transitioning from summer to fall. And I think that a lot of a good thing can start to turn into a bad thing. So for example, my son is without a program right now, and I work from home, and he has nowhere to go and nothing to do. So he's just bored. So I'll be like sitting at my computer working, and he'll just come sit and be like, entertain me, Mom. And as entertaining as I am, it's a little bit frustrating. And I think that happens to a lot of us in the summertime. Just heat, hot, 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 heat, and the humidity. You need a release. You need to unkink your flow. And you need to start looking forward to autumn and preparing for that. But also it requires a certain amount of vigilance and being aware of what is going on in your environment and honoring that. Not just so it doesn't pass you by. It's not just about being present to what is, although it's about that too, but it's also about making the most of your life and the intentions that you've set at the beginning of the year, not letting them get all fat and flabby or dry and covered with weeds because you're not giving them your full attention because you've lost your sense of structure, or the heat and the humidity is like zapped your energy. So it's a chance to unkink your flow and reinvigorate yourself. And I hope that you will sign up for that because you can do that now. Follow the links down below if you want. And I'm also going to give a shout out to a viewer who I think he's a fan. I'm not really sure, but he left me this really funny post once about my bazoombas. So that's as close as you're ever going to get to seeing my bazoombas, sir. But I want you to know that in leaving me that comment, I get some strange perverted comments sometimes, and I never ever approve them. But that one I approved because it gave me the deep belly laughter because it was so oddly polite and complimentary. It was like, oh, I love your videos. Would you consider making a video in a bikini so we can see your bazoombas and your hips and your belly button? Thank you. Have a nice day. And I did not share your name, but I did share it on Facebook. And my friends and I, this post got some traction because we all had those deep belly laughs, mainly around the word bazoombas or bazoongas. I can't even remember now what it was. But I have to say, Mr. Reviewer, you've been on my mind as I've been thinking about this raunchy humor and how you gave my friends and I some good deep belly laughs. And this is definitely the silliest, goofiest, craziest video I've ever made, but you don't even know. I could go sillier. I could go goofier. I once wrote a song for my band called The Bean that was all about a clitoris, and we sang that live all the time. So I am no stranger to the obscene goddess. I think she rocks. And I think you all rock too. I'll be back here next week talking at you, and in the meantime, much love. Peace.